Yeah, last week I was way early.
10 minutes, yeah. Good morning.
What's up, everybody?
Sunday, fam. Cheers.
Welcome to episode 55. Can you believe we've actually done 55 episodes?
Over a year now, right?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Look at us being
Besides our relationship, it's the longest thing we've been consistent together, doing something together, right? Oh, by the way, speaking of, I have been randomly inquiried about when our next convention is going to be, conference is going to be.
Well,
so I know
as of right now, there is nothing on the calendar.
Nothing on the calendar. I said maybe next year has been my response. And if we do it, it will be smaller.
Yes.
So if you're interested in doing an event, maybe next year we're thinking about doing a small, intensive, much more intimate,
weekend,
hyper-focused, transformative thing. So, like, if you're ready to really get into the stuff you have not been wanting to get into, this is the challenge of having an event like this. Is we have to tell people all these great things are going to happen, but really what's going to happen is you're going to be faced with the things that you don't want to face.
Yep.
And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a wonderful experience, which is such a weird concept. This is not going to be fun. It's going to be wonderful.
Ooh. Okay.
Right? Isn't that such a weird,
yeah, because when it's transformative,
it's impactful. It's different. It's like that video that we saw with Jordan Peterson, where he was talking about, what's the hardest thing you've done? The hardest thing you've done is probably the most meaningful thing you've done because it's gotten you to the place that you've never been able to get to until you did it. Right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's a lot of events out there that are about building community and
feeling good
and learning things.
Yeah.
But they don't move the needle.
It's my biggest frustration. It's my biggest frustration in the keto space and in the health space. But since we're in the keto carnivore space, we see it all the time. It's the people who have been to every conference every year and they are in the exact same spot that they were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because the action of going to the conference is replacing the action that they need to take.
It makes you feel like you're doing something.
It makes you feel like you're doing something when you're not.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not where we were going starting.
We could always, once we get some thoughts together around when we want to do the more in-depth, intensive event, we could do a meetup in advance of that.
Yeah.
Because what was so amazing about Antithetic was that it brought people together in this area,
which there isn't anything in this area. Yeah.
So we could do a meetup first, maybe 6 months before the intensive or 3 months before the intensive, and then we can meet people at the meetup and then talk more about what the intensive entails. Because you're right, not everybody's going to be ready for that or willing to dive into something like that. Yep. So that's a
good idea. Maybe we'll do a meetup in the summer.
It would be fun to do a hike in this area.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not places to hike.
Amazing places to hike. We could do hiking and go eat meat. Chill, not like presentations.
Right.
And
just that would be the community, the building, the networking and
y'all
friendships.
Don't need to sit around and listen to speakers again. Like, it's the same stuff, by the way.
That's a whole nother thing,
The speaker part of conferences is the same exact stuff you are seeing in everybody's YouTube videos and online and all of that. So you can get that education for free online anytime.
Yeah. There's two differences. There's three things about conferences that are really the selling point of conferences. It's the community. It's the face-to-face interaction with people. It's along with that, the second thing along with that is the ability to meet the people that you're watching online.
The speakers,
right? Not everybody, not everyone has an opportunity to talk to and actually meet and ask questions face to face with those people. So that is impactful.
That is.
And then The other one is, what was the other one? I was just going to say.
I don't know. What were you going to say?
I had three in my head and the other one just whoosh, totally left.
I would say that hearing the speakers in person.
Face-to-face community and face-to-face community, asking questions and meeting them in person.
Yeah. But also hearing the same information live versus watching it, I will say there's an energy that's a more, let's say, inspiring, motivating energy. It's like, I've watched a lot of Tony Robbins over the years. I studied Tony Robbins when I did my life coaching certification. But I've also been in the room at a Tony Robbins live event. It's a completely different energy. And you do get this inspiration and motivation from that. And it doesn't last. Right. That's the kind of thing we're going to in-person events. When you're having a hard time finding your motivation, can be the spark for you to start to take action when you get home. But you could get home and lose it before you take that action. And that's the kind of thing where the conference isn't going to do it for you. You're going to have to move your own feet when you get home.
Yeah. Yeah. Sparks only work so well. You got to put kindling, you got to put wood, you got to put stuff in there to keep it going, make it bigger. So that being said, that all started from a random conversation about possibly having an event. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about slow progress. And I'm going to tease it a little bit. Is your progress really slow? Is the question. And that's kind of the direction, the angle we're taking at this is we hear a lot of people complaining, either complaining or just questioning or struggling or frustrated with or feeling challenged with, feeling like things are just taking forever.
Yep.
What is going on? What's wrong with me?
Right. What do I need to do?
What do I need to do different? That's where
try to get things
many
going?
of the poor decisions that we make are based on the frustration because things don't seem like they're moving fast enough.
Faster results. Yes.
So we've talked about, and we're not going to talk about it today, but we have talked about, because I feel like we need to tie it in a little bit, is understanding that things are going to take time. That you're on this journey for the rest of your life. So there is no end point. So the whole idea of it's not happening fast enough in one view is a pointless conversation. Because the journey never ends. There is no, any progress is good, right? That's the idea.
And if you're looking at your health and fitness journey as a means to an end,
then that's part of the problem.
That's a part of the problem.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that because we talked about that recently, I think, actually.
We talk about that a lot.
We are going to talk about what are we talking about? How do we define progress? That's where we get stuck. That's where some of the struggle comes in because the way that the things that we're looking at, and this is very, what's the word I'm looking for? This is my home turf when we talk about defining metrics, talking about how do we determine success criteria and all of these different things, right? Yeah. This is where I live. This is my home turf.
What are you evaluating your progress off of? And if you adjust your criteria for evaluation and your analysis of that criteria, you may have a very different perspective. You will have a very different perspective on the progress that you're making and the rate of the progress and how you're judging that.
Yeah. And an example would be if I'm looking at my car and the only thing I'm worried about in my car is how fast it can go. I'll do whatever I possibly can to make it go faster. If at some point I don't take care of the tires, I can go fast, but I will crash going around a curve. Right? If I don't take care of my brakes, I won't be able to stop from going fast. If I don't change the oil, if I don't do certain things, if I don't fix my windshield wiper, I can go fast, but I can't go fast in the rain. Right? There's a lot of different things, and that's the key to this discussion today. There are more things involved in your success than the one thing you're probably focused on.
Yes.
Right? So the reason it's taking more time, The reason it's not going as fast as you want to is because there are more things happening in the journey than you're aware of or that you're paying attention to. If you're trying to and you're focused specifically on trying to lose weight, you're not thinking about the fact that inflammation is going down and maybe the skin rashes you've been having are going away. I mean, you're not thinking about the fact that your gut issues aren't bothering you anymore. You're not thinking about the fact that sleep is improved, your mental clarity is improved. The list is
exhaustive,
endless on the things that can be improved in the process, except for the one thing you're looking at. Right. So does that make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense to everybody.
I want you to share where the inspiration for this topic came from.
I don't remember. Do I remember?
Yes, you do.
I do. Was it me?
What are you doing for your fitness right now? And how has that felt getting back to CrossFit?
Oh, well, okay. So inspiration, maybe not, but it ties in. So,
this is totally where it came from.
No, it's not. Is it? I don't remember. I'm losing it. Okay.
Yeah. I gotta keep him.
Because she's got to keep me straight.
He's in his 50s, y'all. He forgets that.
Oh, please. No, it's the other brain stuff.
Let's not talk about the other brain.
The other brains, not that.
It wouldn't be a coffee chat with us.
She got me there. She got me on that one. Okay. No, so what you're talking about, the personal aspect of this conversation, is me getting back into CrossFit and realizing that there's a lot of now I remember yes.
Ding, ding,
this
ding,
was
ding.
Part of the inspiration for this topic. In CrossFit, one of the hallmarks of the CrossFit methodology is constantly varied. It is physical activities across broad time and modal domains, right? All that means is we do a lot of different stuff. Right, there's a lot of different movements, 7 essential movements. We pull exercises and movements from every sport: powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman, gymnastics, endurance sports, kettlebell sport. Like whatever you can think of is out there as a sport. We probably will do some variation of it along the way. So as I'm getting back into that, it's been a little over a month now. Mm-hmm. I'm realizing there's a lot of stuff I haven't been doing. There's a lot of stuff that I need that is going to take me some time to get back into. Mm-hmm. And it occurred to me that I have to remember that it's going to take me a long time to get all of these different aspects back up to the level that they may have been 3, 4, 5 years ago. Because it's not like I can focus 100% of the effort into getting back into Olympic lifting and getting good at that. I can't put 100% effort into kettlebell work and getting good at kettlebell work. I can't put 100% effort into gymnastics work and get good at gymnastics again, right? I have to put 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. And what that means is I'm going to make much smaller incremental improvements in each of those things. But the big things, the big visible improvements are going to take much, much longer because I'm spreading my focus around into a lot more things. So that was where this kind of came from. I got to remind myself, I got to reset. Hey, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I got to work on.
Check your expectations at the door.
Exactly.
Basically.
Or change my expectations to be like, okay, look,
what am I working on
here.
Right now?
What am I working on right now? I'm going to focus on this because it's a priority, and how, maybe there's a progression of things that I have to go through to get to certain points. So what's the lowest progression I need to be at right now? And then move my way through that. So yeah, that's where this comes from.
And you made a decision about how you're going to switch up what you're doing week to week.
Right. Yeah, and so as an example of that, so part of the expectation is one of the biggest things I need to do is getting back into some of the movements. I need to reconnect some of my mind-muscle connection and get some of the coordination and activation back in place, get my strength back up, because the muscular strength is there, but the connectivity is not. to get the movements and
neural,
activations, right?
yes.
So
Yep.
I'm going to spend 3 days a week right now working on building strength, getting back some of those connections back, working specifically on the central nervous system aspect of strength activation, while I do the conditioning piece of the CrossFit workouts 2 days a week. So that's going to be the current focus. Now that may change as my strength gets back up and I don't have to focus on that as much. Maybe I can go to 3 days a week of CrossFit workouts, 2 days a week of strength or skill or something else.
Yep.
And then maybe switch to one really heavy strength day, maybe a gymnastics day, right? Or maybe 2 gym skill days on getting back into getting on the bar and do it. Like I haven't done muscle ups consistently, getting back into some of the
You're
jump
like
rope work,
handstand
like different
push-ups,
stuff. Yeah,
dude.
handstand.
I don't remember the last time I did
Right,
that.
that stuff is killing me right now.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about things that you guys are like, I can't even do a push-up right now. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
The ideas that we're talking about, the concept of breaking things down and figuring out how do I make this stuff work over time.
Yep.
Focus on the small progressive improvements and not try to make these big jumps and then get frustrated when this big stuff isn't happening all the time.
Right.
It's the Instagram mentality that's killing your progress and killing your consistency, because you're expecting to wake up one morning and look like Coach Nat, and it's not going to happen.
I didn't wake up one morning and look like this.
No, you've been on this. How long have you been doing this?
It's my 10-year lift anniversary.
All right,
This
there we go.
June, I've been lifting for 10 years. That was, what, 1 year? No, technically I've been lifting a little longer, but consistently, we'll say. Consistently lifting, learning the actual concepts and practicing them regularly, consistently, day in, day out, week in, week out, for 10 years. Without extended breaks.
It doesn't happen over time, guys, or it doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's another aspect of it that we've talked about, and you guys are going to hear us talk about it again at some point, and again and again and again, is in the process of identifying what you're going to work on, understand that may have to change.
Yes.
So it's okay, right? You can't make everything a priority all the time. That's the concept of this whole talk. That's the concept of this whole talk. You can't be 100%. What does the Bible say? A man can't have 2 masters.
Ooh, okay.
Right?
Biblical reference on a Sunday.
Right. It's Sunday. I figure I'd go there. I've done a little reading.
Get some points with your mom.
But that's really what it's about, right? You can't put 100% energy into more than one thing.
Yep.
You've only got one bucket. It can only hold so much, and you can only spread it around so far.
And the more things you focus on, the less you can give to each thing.
Right.
Now, one of the things you wanted to point out today specifically was when you are too, like we were talking about earlier, too pinpoint focused on one metric or one thing. And for most people, it's the weight loss.
Yeah. It's the
scale number. And you don't realize that you're actually spreading your focus across all these other things. You're just not looking at all of them. And so you're judging your progress off of something that, and in the scale,
it doesn't really tell
example,
you.
You can't focus 100% on the scale because you cannot directly influence what the scale is doing.
I'm gonna pull that thread.
Okay.
Okay. When we're talking, we talked earlier about your metrics and the things that you're looking at to determine your success. Here's a driving factor. The number one thing that you need to worry about. Is it something I can actually change? Is it something that if I make a change in my lifestyle will actually result in my health or physical ability? If it's not, if I'm looking at something that isn't going to tell me anything, i.e. weight, okay, then why am I focusing on it? It's not a metric that matters.
You know what we should talk about? The spheres of control.
Okay.
Spheres of influence or spheres of control. Y'all can Google this. There's an image.
Oh, there's another one.
You'll see this image of circles with an overlap.
Venn diagram.
Thank you. I was like, what do you call that thing? But you will see there's what you can directly influence, what you can directly control. There are things you can directly control. There are things you can influence. And then there are things that you cannot influence or control that are completely outside of your control. And so one of the most powerful things you can understand is the spheres of control. When a lot of the time we get stuck on these things that we cannot control, the scale is one of them. And I've done master classes on this, all of the different things that influence the scale. And I say influence because none of these things are directly controlling the scale. But carbs, hydration level with water, electrolytes, sodium content of your day, food timing, food meal size, stress, sleep, time of your cycle, ladies. So hormones, exercise, type of exercise. It just goes on and on and on and on. And none of these things directly will change the scale exactly to where you can measure it.
The season.
Oh, boy. You're talking about barometric pressure?
There's all sorts. I wasn't going there.
But
seriously, right? Sunlight, right? I mean, there's so many things that could impact your weight.
They're all
and none of them are things you can control.
Scale, but none of that can you control so perfectly that you can make the scale do something. So the scale is one of those things that's fully outside of your control.
Yeah.
So then you have to take a step back and say, okay, well, what are the things that I can either influence or control? The thing that you should focus on first are the things you can directly control.
Right.
And what are some things? What are some examples of that? You can directly control what you consume, food and beverage. What you put into your body, you have control over. The quantities, the food selection, the timing, those are things you can control.
Yeah, you can control your thoughts.
Oh, that's a whole topic for another day.
Right? If you learn how to control your thoughts, the world is your oyster.
There is nothing
unstoppable. There's nothing
you can't do
that's gonna get in your way. Like from a esoteric perspective, but from a physical, realistic perspective, controlling your thoughts will impact the function of your body.
And
reduce your stress, reduce your cortisol, improve your sleep. There's so many things. Controlling your thoughts. We had this conversation about a client that you had last night. And it's like the idea of controlling your thoughts can actually keep you from doing things that are going to set you backwards. When you control your thoughts, you can say, I'm having a thought that normally I would do this in response to that thought, but I'm in control. I understand where that thought is coming from. I'm not now going to take that action.
Yes. So the things that you can control, like the foods you consume, some of you are operating under the perception that you cannot control your thoughts and that you cannot control your actions around food. How many of you have said, I'm a food addict. I can't have just one. I can't control myself. I can't say no when those things are in front of my face. You're right. Because if that's what you believe, then that is how you will behave. Your thoughts determine your beliefs. Beliefs are just thoughts you've thought many, many times until they become beliefs. But if you believe and understand that you can change your beliefs, you can change your thoughts, then you will much more likely understand that you can control your actions. You can change your actions.
You do, and I'm going to say this. You do not always have to be an addict.
That comment just popped up. I just said it, I'm an addict. You are digging your own grave when you say that.
I'm a meat addict, she said, but whatever.
No, that was Bubbles, but then somebody else said, I literally just said I'm an addict.
Yeah.
Those of you who are like, I'm a sugar addict, I'm a food addict.
I'm a carbaholic.
Right? You are choosing your identity, which means you are choosing how you will behave.
Yep.
I I just recently did a masterclass.
You know what
on
I'm
this.
addicted to?
I did an emotional eating masterclass, and before that, a relationship with food masterclass where I talked about this. It starts with, on the emotional eating masterclass, I talked about it's starting with the most powerful 2 words you can say in the English language.
I didn't hear it, but I'm going to say, is it I am?
Ding, 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 ding. Look at that. You knew exactly where I was going with that. There's nothing more powerful than what you say after those 2 words.
Yep.
I am, because that is what you are determining your life is going to be, who you are, who you say you are. I am an addict is very powerful words. And it is not empowering, it is not liberating.
You cannot act differently than the identity you claim. So all of these people out there, and this is one of the things, we're going totally off the rails right now. This is one of the things that personally drives me crazy. I know there are a ton of people out there who are helping people and trying to do the best they can to break addiction. In the process of breaking addiction, you cannot claim it. Okay? So people out there who are calling themselves food addiction coaches or whatever it is that they want to be, okay? If they are telling you, I don't even know what's the word I'm trying to say. If they are talking about everything from the frame point of you will always be an addict, right? Moderate. No, you can never be a moderator.
Yes.
Right?
That's
You
what they're
are
saying.
basing your life around the control that you have given food.
Yes.
Okay? If you can never, then you can also never be free.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Freedom and restriction from a boundary that something external to you is placing on your life cannot coexist.
Woo!
All right? So if I'm addicted to anything, I'm addicted to freedom. I'm addicted to
I
the
love
choices that I want to make for my own goals and aspirations, period. Nothing else is going to control where I want to go and what I want to do.
I say it all the time. You don't live a big life. You cannot live a full life in a straitjacket with padded walls. And a lot of you are walking through this journey saying, well, as long as I can control my surroundings, at home, I don't buy the food, I don't keep it at home. But the minute I get out and I have a social event and it's around me, I can't control myself. That is not a place of power. It's not a place of strength. It's not a place of freedom.
No.
It is a place you are limiting your potential. You're limiting your life. So many of you are going through this journey and you're saying, I can't be social. I have to say no to events because I can't go spend time with my loved ones because I can't control myself around the food.
Now, I want to clarify. There is a time and a place for that.
Yes.
In the process of building the awareness and building the understanding and building that mental strength and resilience, right? And the understanding of
Yes.
what your root causes are and what they mean and why you have the reactions and the triggers that you going through all of that process. Yes. Do you need to put some real life applicable restrictions on you to keep you? Because
Yes.
those are the physical boundaries in your life that keep you, your guardrails, keep you safe until you get the mental ones.
Right. But if you're not working
But you
on the
can't
mental
live there
stuff,
forever.
yes.
It's impossible.
And we see that's pervasive in the carnivore space, especially
Well,
because,
carnivore is going to fix all that, right?
well, that's it. Once I started eating keto sweets, then I couldn't control myself again. So I'm going carnivore.
Right.
Because this is going to protect me from all of that. I'll never have a craving again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never, have to ever worry about overcoming any of these challenges because the challenges are just going to go away.
Yeah.
That is not the goal. The goal of life is not to never have challenges, to never be triggered.
Woo!
Guess what? You're going to be triggered. You're going to have challenges. And you are making yourself weaker by saying, I need all of these protection mechanisms in place in order to live my life.
You ready for this? I want everyone to go to the gym from now on. Your workouts from now on are going to the gym, walking around, looking at everybody going, wow, that's cool, then walking out and expect to get stronger. If that's all it took, what are we doing here? You can't build strength without resistance. That's why it's called resistance training.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Say that again.
You can't build strength without resistance. Mental resistance,
Oh my
physical
gosh.
resistance. You need it, guys.
You need to
need
overcome
it.
things.
Stop expecting things to be easy.
And yes, at the beginning, you do need to put those protective mechanisms in place, but you
Right.
need to, during that time, commit to doing the real work, which is the inner work.
Yeah. And we're not saying that you don't have to be aware of the things that are going to set you back. You always have to be aware.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you have to cut yourself off from the world in order to live your best life.
You know, I just said this on a discovery call the other day, that first time in my life, I can say that I am I am recovered from bulimia. I am recovered from disordered eating.
Yep.
There was a time where I would say,
Thanks, Indigo.
I am a bulimic and I will be a bulimic for the rest of my life. And I need to, and essentially that is a statement, just like the I am an addict, where you do not have self-trust.
Yeah.
And you are petrified to live life because you're afraid of, you don't trust yourself. So to be able to now say I am recovered and that is no longer my identity, but I do know enough to be ever vigilant.
Yes.
I can stay recovered in any situation.
You had French fries last night.
I did. And you know what else I did? I took half of them home. And I planned to eat the rest of them at home because y'all, they weren't that good. And
She was going to spruce them
doctor
up.
them up, right? But on the way home, I discovered I feel full and I don't want the rest
There's no
of those
need for
French
these.
fries. And to me, the big win in that situation was deciding no, thank you. I don't need that right now. They will still be here tomorrow, and they are today. And guess what? I may not have them today either because I don't know if I really want them. That is freedom, y'all. Freedom is I can have the stuff in my house. I was just thinking I was going to post about this later. I bought, the other day at Trader Joe's, I bought one of my favorite dark chocolates. And it's one that has a little bit more sugar. It's like an 85%.
Oh my God.
Rather than like a 90 or
90 or
100,
95,
which I do most of the time. And I haven't even opened the package for over a week.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time in my life where all I would think about is the fact that that was in my cupboard and the entire thing would get eaten.
Yeah.
I bought a jar of cashew butter. Who the F am I right now that I bought a whole jar, not the little packets?
I was surprised when you were like, hey, by the way.
I
was
bought
like,
cashew
what?
butter. And I have had half a serving so far for days.
Juliana said,
Like-
scandalous.
Let me tell you, I made a blueberry protein creamy. I always make 2 servings. I put them in 2 separate creamy pints. I had a protein bar, like a regular protein bar. That's, they're pretty high carbs.
Which were rando.
from-
I came in, I was like, what is this?
Well, it's
And you're
because I
like,
got
"What?"
it for free at the Arnold.
Okay.
And I put it in the freezer when we got back from the Arnold. And so now it's been, 2 or 3 weeks? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks.
That's just been sitting in there.
It's been sitting there because it's got dairy. It's whey based. And I was sick and I was like, I'm congested.
Yep.
There's no way I'm going to eat dairy right now. But I knew that I brought it back because I wanted to make a blueberry protein creamy with all my regular stuff and add it like half the bar as like a little topping. So I did that a couple nights ago and it was honestly too sweet for me. It wasn't that enjoyable. I had the other half of it in there.
Isn't it crazy how something being sweet is not
Enjoyable because my taste buds have changed. So that's part of the process of removing things from your diet will physiologically create changes in the way that you respond to things. Your brain and your body respond
Your
to
body
things.
adapts.
It's a powerful part of the process, but it shouldn't be the entire process.
Well, I'm going to finish your thing and I want to go back to this.
So all that to say, the other half was still in there. And yesterday I was like, you know what? I didn't enjoy that. It's not worth it to me. And I melted it and I dumped it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that alone, there's so many thoughts. Another thing that a lot of my clients struggle with is the we were brought up on
If it's there, you
don't
have to
waste
eat
food.
it. If it's there, you have to eat it. Yeah.
But you know what? That wasn't food.
Yeah.
That was
And
a protein supplement with some packaged processed items in it. So if it were a steak, y'all, it would stay in the fridge, and if I didn't eat it for a week, it would go in the freezer.
well, you got the half of the steak
I
from
have
last
half
night
my
in there
ribeye
too,
from
right?
last night that I also saved that will be eaten today.
Yep.
Because that really is high quality, expensive food that I will not waste.
Right.
It's just because I've done the work, the mental work. I didn't say keto is going to save me, carnivore is going to save me. I should never have another challenge when it comes to food again in my life.
There's a.
Okay, go ahead into what you were
No, well, there's so many different
There's
directions
so
I
many
want to go
things
right
we're
now.
going.
But something you just said at the end of that is when we get stuck with feeling
Powerless.
or that things are taking forever, the process isn't working, it's not happening
The original
fast enough,
topic of today's chat.
all of that kind of stuff. A lot of that is because of your rigidity of mind.
Ooh,
You're
yes.
thinking so strictly about X and you're not considering the rest of the alphabet. There's a lot of stuff
I
happening.
love that.
Right? You're like,
Yeah.
I'm so focused on this one letter. The ability to even think that there's other letters involved.
Oh my gosh. What are
It's just so-
some of those X things? We talked about the scale and that you literally have no control over
Yep.
that. How about blood sugar? How many people are only focused on their blood sugar?
Or their insulin or their
And their-
A1C. Oh my God.
Insulin, A1C, blood sugar, all the keto specific focus.
Because it's all about
Look
insulin,
what I
right?
am wearing, y'all.
Yep.
I got this the other day, a continuous glucose monitor. I'm interested to see the data, but it's not the only thing I care about. And I understand that it is not the only thing that determines my health.
Well, here's an example. We'll go that direction. And here's an example. Can't tell you how many times I've seen this. Someone will message me or be in a group or I'll get a text in my Discord or something. And they're like, hey, coach, my A1C is 5.8.
Oh, yes.
My A1C is 5.8. I'm concerned that I'm
am I doing
pre-diabetic.
wrong?
What am I doing wrong? And the first question is, well, what was it before?
That's
9 times out of 10. Oh, it was 6.5. It was 7.2.
Oh, so your blood markers
So
are
you're
improving.
getting better. What are you worried about? Like you went from a 6.5 to a 5.8 and you're worried you're not doing it right? What?
Oh my gosh, thank you
Number
for that.
one.
Thank you for that.
Number two, it was 5.7. It was 5.6. Now it's 5.8. What's wrong? I'm going the wrong direction. Okay. What's your C-reactive protein? What's your blood pressure? What's your LDL? What's your cholesterol? What are all these? Every other marker that you could possibly have is perfect. But because your A1C is 0.2 points higher, not even a point, 0.2 points higher, you're concerned that now you're developing diabetes.
Yes. Yes. I've seen
And
that a lot.
your sleep is better. You lost 20 pounds. You're working out regularly. Like,
Your knees don't hurt anymore.
guys, what are we doing?
It's so true. It's so true. Yep.
Right? And I'm not trying to come down on anybody. It's hard to see people get so hung up on things that don't freaking matter.
Well, and you know what it is too. It's
In isolation. Yes, it matters, but in
it's your
isolation.
brain looking for the one bad thing
Yeah.
in the sea of positives that are happening, that you pinpoint the one thing that's negative and then focus on that.
Yeah. Why do we do that?
Well, you know, it's actually, congratulations, you're normal. It's actually, it is actually an evolutionary thing that the brain has learned to do, because think about it, before we had civilization,
Right. We got to
you
look for
had
every
to be
safety
focused
clue.
on
Yeah.
something that's a threat. If you were not hypervigilant about that, you could die.
Velociraptor.
So that hopefully can help you understand that you're not, actually, there's nothing wrong with you for doing that, but it is something that we need to overcome. And it's just yet another example of my favorite topic, which is the limbic brain, the emotional brain, sometimes called the lizard brain, sometimes called the pig brain, the monkey brain, the primitive brain.
The Abdullah oblongata.
It's actually not the same
I know.
area
I'm
of the
just kidding. I just had to say it.
But the limbic brain to limbic system, it's operating on these survival patterns and survival instincts. And then we have the prefrontal cortex is what makes us human. We can think logically. But we have to shift when we get into these survival patterns. We have to shift from operating in this survival brain to operating in our logical brain. That can take us down to earth. Let's consider everything together.
Yep.
Let's talk ourselves off the ledge. That's ultimately everything in this journey. And so hopefully that'll bring us back to our topic of the day, which is
progress. There's a lot of things to look at.
the way to measure progress to help you see that you are making more progress than you think you are.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
Because sometimes you're not making progress and you're trying to fool yourself into thinking that you are to make yourself feel better.
Now you're going to confuse everybody.
That you're not taking action. No, I think it's really important though to understand when are we using the same argument to justify not making progress as we're using to say I'm frustrated by not making progress.
Yeah.
And to be here's the rub, y'all. It's the same emotional brain.
It is, isn't it so
driving
crazy?
Both of those
Isn't
thought
it crazy?
processes.
The same part of the brain, the same part of the human psyche is using the flip side of the same argument to either derail you because you're getting frustrated, it's not happening enough, so you keep trying all these things that don't work, or make you think that you should just wait because you're trusting the process.
Yes.
And if you just keep doing what you're doing, even though you're not doing anything, eventually it will change.
Yes, we
It's the same part of the brain.
Didn't we have a topic one time where we were talking about like, you keep saying that, but I don't think you know what that means.
Yes.
And it was trusting the process is one of the phrases we see used incorrectly. Oh, I'm trusting the process. Oh, progress over perfection, but you're not actually making progress. So the same concept applies in both situations. You need to learn to objectively look at the right things and to look at them properly to determine, am I making progress or am I not?
Yeah. And here's the rub. If your goal is weight loss, everything we just said is impossible. If your goal is based on how can you improve your quality of life, physical freedom, and personal independence, and you're looking at all of the aspects that go into how you live your life every single day, then we can have a conversation. And then this applies. Okay? Outside of that, none of this matters. Just stop eating and lose weight. It's not that hard.
Yeah, you'll waste away all your muscle and you'll eventually die.
Which we're all going to do anyways.
You'll die.
But I'm going to live my life free.
You'll die skin and bones.
And being able to do whatever I want to do when I go. I think we're good.
Well, did we even tell them how to though?
I think we covered plenty. That's a whole nother talk. How to look at the progress, that's a whole nother, we've been there for 45 minutes.
Well, maybe we can talk about that next week.
Maybe.
The metrics to look at.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. How do you guys like that? We'll talk about what do you look at? What are some of the things
of this discussion? Because y'all know we always go to mindset first because that matters the most.
Right. What are we looking at and what does it mean? Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right.
We got to remember that. Write that down.
We'll write it down immediately after this.
See you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your support, and we're going to try to keep doing this for as long as we can.
Love y'all.